$47 will be cheap in a few months when the dollar bubbles.
This comment and others like this I get on the channel all the time, and I'm going to discuss this comment today as well as a few others that I've gotten today in this video. So I hope that you guys stick with me and hear my opinion on some of the most common comments that I get on my videos about silver. So let's get into it, but before we do me a favor and don't forget to subscribe and help us continue to grow the channel. Make sure you don't miss out on your chance to win a full monster box of Silver Eagles by going to our sponsor sdbullion.com/silverseeker and get your entry today. So our first comment, and obviously the one that we used in today's introduction, comes from Mike Kemper, and it was on the video that I uploaded yesterday where I talked about the Silver Eagle premiums being sky high, unreal if you will. And that, by the way, thumbnail is not even clickbait. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. I showed multiple retailers selling just generic, random year Silver Eagles for over $47 each. And anyway, he says that $47 will be cheap in a few months when the dollar buckles. And whether or not you believe that to be the case or to be true, in other words, you believe that the dollar is going to buckle in just a few months and we will see absolutely astronomical numbers on Silver Eagles. And by the way, before we say that that will happen, I do not get into the whole doomsday scenario of tomorrow silver is going to be $1 million an ounce. People have been saying things like this for years. Probably decades at this point, if not longer. So yeah, to say that it's going to happen in just a couple of months, I would say I would love your crystal ball. But that being said, let's pretend that Mike is absolutely 100% correct. That doesn't change the fact that today you can get silver way cheaper than that. So saying that it's okay for Silver Eagles to be that ridiculously expensive in today's market just because in a few months silver is going to be priced that way anyway is very short-sighted. Because like I said in that video yesterday, if I can take the same exact money that I have right now today and spend that money and get 21-ounce Silver Eagles or 30 Buffaloes or Britannias or even the Cowboy round that we showed in that video yesterday, I would much rather have 30 ounces of silver instead of 20. And so when I see comments like this, sure, if you believe that to be the case, fine, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try and get as much silver as you can. In fact, honestly, if Mike's right, which again, I'm not saying that he is, but if he's right, he should absolutely be buying as much silver as he can get for the money that he has right now. But again, I'm not saying that that's going to happen anytime soon. Let's move on to our next comment. And this one comes on that same video. This is from XJ Sorvarens. I guess I pronounced that correctly. And he says, premiums are BS. Spot price should be what silver sells for, period. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that I totally disagree with that. I'm not saying that premiums, especially on things like Silver Eagles, aren't too high right now. Silver Eagles, in my opinion, are way too high, but that doesn't change the fact that there are a lot of people that need to be paid for that silver to be processed, produced, shipped, and then retailed to people like you and I. It doesn't come for free. I mean, all that productivity does not come for free. And as an interview that I'm doing that's going to be released on the channel next week says, even the big mints right now are not getting silver for spot price. So even the big mints are paying above spot for silver right now, and then they have to produce it and ship it and insure it and pay the employees and everything else before it can get sold to me and you. Now that doesn't mean that Silver Eagle should be $47 an ounce. I'm certainly not saying that. But to say that premiums are BS and shouldn't exist is very short-sighted, because I don't know about you, but when I go to work, I expect to get paid for being there and paid for my time. And if they're not doing that, then I'm not going to be there. So obviously that, that holds true for these companies as well. So I do believe premiums are absolutely necessary. That said, once again, the premiums on Silver Eagles are just a little ridiculous. All right, so our next comment comes from F402R7D, and this comment was on a video that I had with Coin Crew where we discussed why people sell their silver, and Keith had actually talked about the 4Ds, and if you guys haven't seen that video yet, I'll put a link in the description below. It was a very good one, so go check it out. Now, this is a long comment, so we're going to kind of chop it up, and we'll start with the first point, which is the biggest one that I brought here. Basically, the rest of his comment here, I totally agree with. This one, we'll just kind of have a discussion. So the first part, he says, whatever the price of silver or gold, the reason for the price is demand for it. So if silver doubles or quadruples in price, it's because there are a lot of people that are willing to buy it at those prices. See, the problem with that statement, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I don't really have a crystal ball. I said that earlier. And I don't really know what's going to happen if we were to hit $100 silver via normal trading, which, by the way, is what that video we talked about in that video. We certainly didn't, talk about a scenario where silver hits $100 or $200 an ounce because our dollar devalues. In that situation, obviously, silver would be worth the same in goods and services as it is today. It's just that our dollar would be worth so much less. It would take more dollars to buy the same silver. But in a scenario where via normal trading, our dollar, our silver hits $100 an ounce of today's value of the dollar, he says that the reason it would get there would be demand for it. Now, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't actually know what will happen in that situation, but we can look at history to get an idea of what happened. And we can go back to 1980 and the Hunts brothers. Now, in 1980, I wasn't around. I wasn't even alive yet, but I've been dealing with precious metals for decades, most of my life, and I've been to hundreds of coin shows. I've talked to countless dealers. And many dealers, we have actually specifically talked about this situation, and some of them that I spoke with about it were actually around in business back in 1980. And what I got mostly from them was that their shops, especially during the big run up to 50, was that they had lines out the door every single morning of people wanting to sell their silver. Many of the people that were in line, there were very, very few retail buyers. So the situation was, according to them, again, I wasn't there, I wasn't even alive yet, but the situation was, according to them, that they had so many people selling that they did not have enough retail buyers to cover the silver that they were bringing in. As a result, they had to take that silver, they had to ship it out to like big smelters, like Silvertown is a name that comes up quite a bit from back then, that I've heard from them. And basically, they had to sell it to them for less than melt price. So to sell to a big smelter or a big mint or refiner for less than melt price, they had to obviously buy it for less than melt. So a lot of these dealers were saying they were paying 70 to 80% of spot for the silver. And the reason is because the price got so high. And by the way, $50 in 1980 is like $100 today. The price got so high that so many people wanted the cash out of old stuff like old silver coins, jewelry, silver jewelry, which I don't know if there was a whole lot around back then, but a lot of sterling silverware, candlesticks, sterling silverware sets, they had all sorts of stuff coming through the door, and they were buying it again 70 to 80% of melt, so they could actually sell it themselves for less than melt and keep the money coming in so they could continue the cash flow and can continue to buy the silver as it was coming through the door. So again, I wasn't there, but I could definitely see a scenario where in today's market, since the silver price is based on the COMEX price. In other words, futures contracts. The silver spot price on the COMEX right now is based on futures contracts. So you could see a scenario where silver gets to $100 via normal trading, but though that number right there is not influenced at all or very little by physical demand. So the transactions that you and I make at local coin shops, buying from online retailers, those transactions barely, if at all, affect that spot price. So it's very possible we could see the COMEX price of silver climb to $100 an ounce, and there's a lot of people would be like, you know what, it's time to cash out. And they would take their silver into a dealer. The dealer would have to, unfortunately, give them less than spot price because there's not enough retailer buyers to cover it, and so they have to ship it out and get it smelted down or whatever it may be. So again, I'm not saying that I know that's going to happen, but that is the situation that we are talking about here. Who actually knows how it's going to go? Maybe it'll get to 100 and there'll be so many buyers that no one will want to sell. I have no idea. I'm not saying that's the case, but I am saying based on what I've heard about what happened in 1980, that is certainly a possible scenario. Now, the rest of his comment, and this will make this the last comment of the video because this one is so long. He says it's also not about the price of silver going up, but the devaluation of the currency that is buying it. So if silver hits 100 at 100, that is a reflection of the value of the dollar. We actually just talked about that, so we don't have to go into that anymore. Obviously, we were talking about silver getting to $100 an ounce via normal market trading, not through our dollar value going down. You are not getting wealth, converting it into fiat currency because whatever you're buying with the currency also went up in price. Yeah, same thing. All right, so he says people look at holding precious metals all wrong. It's not to get rich, but that's not happening. So this right here, F4, I agree 1,000%. I've said on this channel at least a dozen times, if not way more, that if you're buying silver as a way to get rich, if you're buying it as the next GameStop or the next AMC or the next Bitcoin, you're in the wrong market because we're not buying silver to get rich, and you're not going to get rich off of silver. It's looked at as an insurance or a savings account as a protection against inflation. Again, if you're buying silver with the intent of it going up to $100 an ounce or $200 an ounce via normal trading and making 4 to 8 times your money, probably not going to happen, and you're certainly buying it for the wrong reasons. There's better plays out there for that. Definitely more risky, but much higher potential for gains if you're looking for that situation. What it does is preserve the purchasing power of your earnings into the future as long as it's a storage of wealth. You're not any richer. Yeah, so this is all the same thing. If you're trying to get rich off physical. So there you go. Like you can read the rest of the comment. It's been on the screen long enough. He's basically saying everything that I agree with 100% after that first portion of his comment where I said we were just talking about a possible scenario. Everything else I agree with 100%. So F4, I appreciate the comment. I certainly appreciate the discourse that we've had in the comments afterwards. Definitely appreciate you watching and thank you so much. So guys, that's the 3 that I'm going to cover today, but we're going to do this video again in the future. So like I said earlier, if you haven't done so yet, do me a favor, don't forget to subscribe and help us continue to grow the channel. I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to put a link up above me to a video that if you haven't seen yet, I highly recommend that you do because it was a good one. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day and we'll see you next time.